So here's the deal.
Welcome back. Join me while I break down another movie plot. Enjoy the memories and watch out for spoilers. Beginning in England during 1760, Barnabas Collins traveled with his family from Liverpool to America in hopes of expanding the Collinses' empire. The family settled in Maine and established the first fishing town the likes of which America had never seen. Barnabas is raised on his father's teachings that family is the only real wealth, and as the town grows the Collins decide to put down permanent roots. 15 years later and the family home of Collinwood is complete, and Barnabas is now a charming aristocrat hooking up with his French maid. Angelique traveled to America with the Collins 15 years ago and has been infatuated with Barnabas ever since. When he refuses to sympathize with her obsessive feeling for him, she uses witchcraft to kill his parents with a falling grotesque. While mourning their loss, Barnabas met the love of his life Josette, but she was noticed by the evil Angie and hypnotized to throw herself off the edge of a cliff. Barnabas didn't reach her in time and followed her over the edge out of depression, but rose back up, having been cursed to be a vampire for all time by Angelique so that his suffering can never end. The witch then turned the residence of Collinsport on its founding family, having Barnabas dragged from his home and into the woods. The townspeople buried him inside a locked coffin beneath the forest where it has remained for 200 years. A present-day woman who looks exactly like Josette is catching a train to serve as the Collins family governess. She gives herself the fake name of Victoria Winters and hitches a ride from the station with some hippies. They drop her at the Collins estate, which is now run down as it was intended to be maintained by a staff of 100, but now just has groundskeeper Willie to attend its every need. The gamekeeper shows Vicky around the 200-room home and introduces her to the useless maid, as well as the current matriarch of the family Elizabeth. Liz takes over the tour and introduces her to her mean-tempered daughter Carolyn, who sarcastically wishes Vicky good luck with her duties, then slams the door in her face. Victoria joins the two for dinner and meets Elizabeth's shifty brother Roger, who is always looking for a quick buck. The family's alcoholic psychiatrist Dr. Hoffman introduces herself, primarily working with the youngest member of the family David. The fake ghost gets mad at his Aunt Liz for ruining his prank on the new girl while his dad tells him to stop cutting holes in the bedsheets. Vicky's role at Collinwood is to take care of David, who hasn't been the same since his mother was lost at sea 3 years earlier. Despite this, David claims his mother can't die and speaks to him all the time, which is why Hoffman was brought in and why his father ignores him. That night as Vicky settles in, she is visited by the ghost of Josette, who she is already familiar with. She informs her that he is coming, before recreating her falling from the cliff. Nearby, a group of construction workers are clearing a section of the forest for a McDonald's when they unearth a coffin. Barnabas bursts forth and proceeds to drink 11 laborers dry, apologizing to the final one as he doesn't want to harm anyone but has no choice. On the way back to town, he sees the McDonald's sign and thinks it is a shrine to the demon Mephistopheles, then a foreign terrain that he isn't familiar with. When a car's headlights approach him, he believes that the devil come to claim his soul, but it just leads him back to town. The 18th century aristocrat stumbles through 1972 Collinsport, bewildered by the modern world around him, eventually reaching the old part of town and seeing his beloved Collinwood degrading away. Willie is staggering around the pumpkin patch drunk and is hypnotized by Barney into telling him all that he knows, which isn't much. After getting cleaned up, Barnabas boasts about the exquisite craftsmanship that went into building the house, while briefly meeting David and Carolyn and telling them exactly who he is.
Are you stoned or something?
They tried stoning me, my dear. It did not work.
Elizabeth enters and takes him away from the kids, just thinking that he is a con man trying to scam money from them. Barnabas admires her devotion to the Collins family and tells her that he isn't there to steal money from them but to provide it. He tries to prove his identity by opening a secret room, but it's already been stripped of its valuables, probably by Roger. The story that Liz recites is that Barnabas Collins was loved by all of the townspeople but disappeared after claiming he had been turned into a vampire. He then uses his cane to unlock a secret vault that the family had never found because Barney had the key on him, convincing Elizabeth that both he and vampires are real. They head into the vault to a room filled with treasure that they had been unknowingly sitting on their whole entire life. Barnabas explains that he means to stay and will bring no harm to anyone with the Collins name, so Elizabeth agrees on the condition that everything stay between the two of them. Despite this, Barnabas does little to stifle suspicions, claiming to his descendants that he would have burst into flames had they not replaced the family silverware with replicas. His cover is that of Barnabas III, a distant relative visiting from England who is allergic to silver. Just then Vicky walks in and Barney has flashbacks of Josette, but holds it together enough for a polite greeting. He learns that the family's fishing business has collapsed after a competitor called Angel Bay phased them out. A business owned by the ageless Angelique, having used her witchcraft to keep herself alive all these years and only started Angel Bay to destroy the Collins legacy. She discovers that her old lover has been set free and goes to Collinwood to demand an audience with him. In spite of it being daylight outside, Barnabas is woken by her knocking and is shocked to see her still alive and being the reason for his family's downfall. She explains that in his absence she pretended to be her own descendants for 200 years, gaining influence over the town, and now they love her while Barnabas is just a stranger who's afraid of the sun. She burns him with daylight, telling him that it's good to have him home, then leaves. That night, while feeling defeated, Elizabeth encourages Barney to defy Angie like he once did for the sake of the family. Over the coming months, Barnabas restores Collinwood to its former condition while struggling to find a place to sleep as a vampire, eventually settling in a traditional coffin. Dr. Hoffman discovers Barnabas staring at Carolyn's lava lamp and attempts to therapize him as she believes him insane, although he has never heard of a therapist and assumes it's some kind of American delicacy. Hoffman puts him under hypnosis and confronts Elizabeth, having been told the whole story. Although she knows he is a killer, the doctor is convinced to keep it all a secret for scientific purposes as she finds him fascinating. She begins work on trying to make him human again through a blood transfusion while also tending his other needs. Barnabas is convinced by Carolyn that he should spend some time with modern people to adjust to the 70s and successfully court Vicky, so he goes camping with the hippies that gave her a lift.
You tripped for 2 centuries?
Indeed.
Having come from a time where a woman's affection is won with a trait of sheep to her father, the Doomstoners explain that all a woman really wants is love. Barney thanks them for their time, then regrettably tears them to shreds. He continues to restore the family business to its former glory while a concerned Angelique watches on. Willie takes him to the local tap house to meet the head of the Fisherman Guild, Mr. Clarney. Despite his loyalties to Angel Bay and Jedi-like resolve, Barnabas hypnotizes Clarney into sailing for the Collins family. Angie has had enough and holds a meeting with Barney where she attempts to first buy him off, then offers a partnership. Angelique is still lethally attracted towards him and explains that after 100 years of being angry with him, she is now just lonely. She repeats her advances toward him and successfully seduces him into destroying her office in its entirety, giving new meaning to the phrase bumping uglies. Afterwards he regrets his decision and refuses to return her affection for a second time, so she swears to destroy him and his. During breakfast, Barnabas proposes that they host a ball for the townspeople to restore the family name, which Roger claims to have been telling them they need more balls for years. The family agree that it's a good idea and Carolyn convinces him that all good happenings have Alice Cooper attend, so that's who he gets as entertainment. During the party, the Hollywood vampire discovers David being neglected by his father Roger while he fools around with a guest and steals from coat pockets. Later on he has an intimate moment with Victoria, who confides in him the truth about who she is. Her only friend as a child was the ghost of her ancestor Josette, making her parents believe her insane and have her condemned to a mental asylum for torture. One night she managed to escape and was directed by Josette to come to Collinsport. Now feeling drawn to the stranger as if she's known him forever, the two kiss, not realizing Angelique has gate crashed and is angrily watching them. The next day Barnabas discovers Dr. Hoffman using his blood to gain immortality. Enraged at this, he takes his blood back by using her like a straw, then has the groundskeeper help him dispose of her corpse as Willie says he never liked her anyway. They throw her body in the ocean with a brick tied to her and that's that. When he arrives home he discovers Roger searching for the vault and gives him an ultimatum. Since he is part of the family he can either stay at Collinsport and be a good attentive father to David, or leave with money to live his cretinous life elsewhere. The deadbeat dad decides to leave a grieving David and is never seen again. A disco ball nearly crushes David, so Barney saves him with his supernatural speed, then catches fire in the sunlight before Willie puts him out. Barnabas's vampirism is exposed to David and Victoria, who both recoil from him in terror, so he goes back to Angie and demands she rid him of his curse. She offers him a glass of blood and proposes that he join her to rule Collinsport together, or else she will return to destroying everything he loves. He refuses the deal, so she once again uses her witchcraft to lock him inside a box and has her men load him into a van. She destroys the Collins family cannery yet again and dumps Barnabas in an abandoned mausoleum, leaving him sealed for another 200 years with only her underwear as company. Angie then uses a recording of him admitting to the townspeople's murders to stir up an angry mob, who attack Willie and chase him all the way back to Collinwood. After only 20 minutes inside, Barnabas is freed by David, who claims that the ghost of his mother guided him there. Barney makes it back to Collinwood just as the townspeople get there and attacks Angelique in front of them, causing her to defend herself and finally exposing her as a witch to the crowd. A battle between her and the entire Collins family takes place, where Willie and his axe is swiftly dealt with, before Angie is thrown by Barney into Carolyn's room, revealing her to be a werewolf. Elizabeth enters with a shotgun and gets a few licks in on the slowly cracking Angie until the possessed house comes to life and attacks her. Barnabas is subdued by a statue and the house begins to burn down around them, when Carolyn reveals her hairy self to her mother and attacks Angie, cracking her porcelain skin even more. The witch easily knocks her unconscious and admits to the family matriarch that she sent a werewolf to bite Carolyn in her crib, and that she is the one who killed David's mother. When she threatens to make them watch as she kills David himself, the ghost of his mother arrives and blasts Angelique into a chandelier. Barnabas leans down and tells her that she is cursed to never love anyone and merely wanted to possess him, so she rips out her heart as a final show of passion and offers it to him. Angelique dies as Colin's wood burns to the ground. While leaving, David's mother warns him that Vicky is about to leap from a cliff just as Josette did. So Barnabas superspeeds over to her, this time making it before she falls but realizing she isn't possessed. She explains that they are from different worlds, him from the shadows and her from the light, then hurls herself off the edge, forcing him to turn her into a vampire so she can survive the fall. Vicky would have rather died than be apart from him, and wakes up now not as Vicky but having been possessed by Josette's spirit. The two vampires embrace and live happily together in the shadows for the rest of time, and Barney's curse of eternal loneliness finally comes to an end. And the movie ends, with Dr. Hoffman reanimating, having succeeded in her side quest.
Mommy, where's Daddy? He's been gone for so long. Is he ever coming home?
So you made it. I appreciate your time. I couldn't have done it without you. Tell your mother I said thanks.
To betray one's own kin, it is unforgivable. Boil in hell's everlasting sulfur.